Good afternoon. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay, yeah, I'm really excited to be here. It's been a very interesting program, and I joined the other speakers to say that CEREDEMS is coming at a very critical time to talk about to undo focus on something that is very very important. Um, I've been asked to talk about, making political campaigns free of information pollution, critical questions. It was interesting to listen to Professor Shaw, Dr. Sadia, and everybody. And, I couldn't agree more. And what occurred to me was that before we used to think that the problem of information disorder or information pollution according to this topic is because people are not media literate, people are not enlightened, or they are not educated. But a lot of if you read fact checks, if you read a lot of hate speech, and when people weaponize information, you find that a lot of this information, they're actually coming from people who are enlightened, people who are educated, sometimes even media workers, celebrated journalists who understand, the implication of what they are doing. So while media literacy is very, very important, I think what we need is not just media literacy, we also need for people to think deeper about the implications of what they are doing, because you are on platforms and then you see a lot of things and you realize that these people, well, when it comes to the theory, they know the right thing, but they are not able to separate their persons from, from politicking and all that. So I'll say that, if we're asking critical questions, we need to start asking the politicians, their campaign, the members of political campaign teams, political parties, and their supporters. The only thing, do they think beyond the election? I mean, this is a very critical question, because if they think beyond the election, perhaps they would not do a lot of things they're doing. And I dare say, I do not think they're thinking beyond the elections. And that is one of the reasons why we have this serious challenge on our hands. So I think we need to begin to draw people's attention to after elections, the fact that we're now going to have a state that is for everybody. Election will be over, but the implications of the things that have been done can, they are going to live with us. Another, question I would like to pose is, even though, the first category of people are thinking just about elections, I want to also ask, members of the civil society, election observers, and most importantly, the media. Are we also thinking beyond elections? Because if we had, then like Mr. Atufandri said, we would not be having media workers who are supposed to be, as serve as watchdogs, becoming weapons of information warfare. So we also don't have these categories of people. We're beginning to have instances where some members of the civil society, election observers, and media journalists, also policing the information ecosystem, because they are not really thinking about professionalism, they are not thinking about ethics, and they are not thinking beyond the elections. And we also sadly, and we also have religious organizations and ethnic organizations and the opinion leaders in these two very, very critical and sensitive sectors, also focusing on the positions, the gains, and not looking at the implications of what this is going to have on the society. And then we have finally the general populace. A lot, well, some are uncritical. They are just not critical. It really doesn't matter whether they don't want to think beyond the surface of the message. It's been posted, they share it, they are not critical. Then we also have those who are purely ethnocentric. They know that, some of this information, it could be disinformation. They know, they understand, they can see beyond the words or beyond the videos. Well, they are just ethnocentric, and those messages serve their purposes. And then we have a very poor sense of history, whether Nigerian's history or whether African history or whether histories of countries that are at war. In fact, we do not just have a poor sense of history. We even have a poor sense of our presence. I mean, how old is Russia and Ukraine war? And what's the level of devastation in terms of human lives, in terms of resources? How long is it going to take before Ukraine can recover? We do not pay attention to history, and that is why we are allowing all of these things to happen. So the question is, are we thinking, do we reflect on history? Do we reflect on both the past history and the one that is going on around us? Well, while we have lots of questions and a lot of the previous speakers have given us answers, I just want to say that it's really important that, well, the media is supposed to, I mean, the media is, supposed to be the one to solve all of these problems, but the media itself is deeply embedded, in the problem itself because of the political economies of media management and surviving, because of the ethnocentrism and the lack of objectivity and balance of media workers themselves, and because of, um, because of the fact that we really have people who are just media men. We now have religious or ethnic journalists. So they are first of all religious journalists or ethnic journalists before they're just, first of all, religious people or members of ethnic groups before they are journalists. So we need to begin to uncover the agenda. So when we have those kind of hidden of planted stories like Dr. Sadia said, we need to begin to unpack them and show people the covering, what really is behind the text. Then we need to have, we need to increase media literacy. While it might be difficult, there is no doubt, as as somebody who has worked on information disorder and fact checking, even though we still have a lot to do, but the little that fact check organizations are doing and the little, as much as the media literacy information that are going out there, people, it's getting better. And so we shouldn't allow media organizations, fact-checking organizations, we shouldn't allow the pressure to, weigh us down. We should keep doing whatever it is we're doing. It is making an impact. It is making an impact. And then we need to do media monitoring beyond the elections. And I'd like to quote Moturayo Alaka of Wole Soyinka's Center for Investigative Journalism. She invented a strategy and she called it the RUSH strategy. That's RUSH, report until something happens. And now, so we talk about how the media is covering elections, but after the elections, we shouldn't just let it go like that. We should do a postmortem of media's coverage of elections and a postmortem of information disorder after elections, so that even if we are not able to prevent everything during elections, by bringing these issues to the fore, showing media organizations that are goofed, bringing out opinion holders who abused, privilege and all of that, even if we can't prevent what they've done before, we can prevent what they can still do in future. So it's really important that we use the rush strategy to actually, do a postmortem of elections, after. And then another thing is that we need to empower fact-checking organizations and media organizations as well. Fact-checking organizations, they are doing a lot. I know, like Dubawa and all of that, they have special decks for elections, but the work is enormous. And so it's really important that, CEREDEM and so many other organizations, we need to empower every individual news organizations, because the rush to publish and, to also break news is making me a lot of news organizations, not even do the basic sub-editing that we are aware of before, not to talk about fact checking with the complex, rate of information disorder that we have. We have a lot of questions, and well, the answers cannot solve all of the questions instantly. But I think the general thing I just want to say is that we need to reflect in the heat of the moment, both for the politicians that wants to win, their campaign managers that want to, have an impact. We need to pause and think. For the media organizations that want to break the news, that want to cash in on elections as much as possible, we need to pause and reflect. And to the individual that wants to just share the message and also get a lot of likes and clicks, we need to pause and reflect. As people, as we are making our votes,
it seems, Dr. Ghana, it seems you are muted. Kindly unmute your microphone. Dr. Ganiyat, you are muted. If you can hear me, kindly unmute yourself, please.
How long have I been muted?
About 2 minutes, about a minute here, about a
Wow,
minute or
that's
two.
strange. I didn't touch the system. Okay, so
Sorry,
I
maybe
just feel that. So well, I can't remember the last
one
thing I said.
minute. Yeah, no, don't worry. Be
Okay, so
running
I
up.
feel that pausing to reflect and
Reflect.
calling out people, when especially stakeholders that have critical roles to play when they goof and when they put the sanctity of elections, the power of the electorate, and the stability of this country, calling them to order, and not just packing everything up after elections, but going back, doing a postmortem, so that as civil society, as election observers, as media people, as academics, as citizens, we can reflect on what we did and how we can do better, so that Nigeria, so that we can get there one day and have an electioneering, process that not only bring qualified leaders who are going to focus on good governance, but have a system where we do not destroy the country by even trying to stir in the first place. Thank you so much. And I really believe that, well, if we all go back with something and utilize what we have talked about in our various sectors, perhaps we'll have a better 2023 than we can hope for. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ganiyat, for um, an incredible presentation, as well as giving us this insight. And then, yeah, what you talked about increasing media literacy and also media monitoring, as well as being reflective of our actions, and then knowing our history, which is very, very important going forward. Thank you. We'll thank all our speakers, Professor Lai also, Dr. Sadia, Mr. Lekan, Dr. Greg, and Dr. Ganya for such wonderful presentations. Next on our agenda is open forum. So here you can raise your hand. If I see your hand, I'll call you out, and then you can ask any question, maybe to the speakers or to CEREDEMS, and we'll be glad to answer your question. So we are having open forum now. So we are glad to also answer all your questions. So anybody with a question can show your hand in the reactions, and then I would call you, or you can write it as well. Okay, so we have Oludari. If you can unmute yourself, please kindly ask your question.
Okay, good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Ludari Ogunyombo from Nigeria. Thank you for the opportunity to listen to this. Concerning reconstructing Nigeria's election campaign and the atmosphere in a time of conflicting national unity and information pollution, I would just like to contribute the fact that the media needs to work a little bit more on pointing out what I refer to as the early warning signs. A lot of times we seems to close our eyes to those signs, those things that are likely to eventually um, generate into a major crisis. So what that means is that it's important that the media, the journalists looked much into those signs that are likely to become problems. For instance, currently, um, there are issues around some polities in a place like Lagos. The Lagos state government has recently introduced some um, policies that a lot of people that is generating heated debate, and people are already looking beyond the fact that if this is what on the eve of an election, the government is throwing at us as citizens of Lagos, then why or how can we trust so candidates going into the elections? I won't want to mention names here for the purpose of not sounding political. So what I'm saying is that the media now has to look very much at how well these early warning signs that are likely to generate into crisis, or that are likely to polarize discussions, or that are likely to create disaffection among the people can be cured. And as our roles as journalists, we have to know that we must interpret for the purpose of understanding so that we can have a consensus that can drive a more receptive society or environment for us to all live in. So thank you very much. That is my contribution.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Oludari. And next, Mr. Yusuf, if you can also go ahead with your comment or your question. Yusuf Abubakar. You can unmute yourself.
Thank you so much. I really want to appreciate the organizers of this program and also the speakers. My question goes straight to Dr. Ganiyat.
Okay.
She talked about the rush strategy, which she said is a report until something happens. How has this been effective, and how can we? I just want her to portray the point based on this aspect, the rush
All
strategy
right.
that she made mention of. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Dr. Ganiyat, maybe you can respond to his question quickly so you don't forget. If you can unmute yourself. Dr. Ganiyat, if you are here, you can unmute yourself and then maybe you can respond to his question. Okay.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Dr. Oguyombo. I think that we were really not in control of what governments do, and unfortunately, when elections get near, we're really not able to divorce, governments from governance and then politics. I say that what we can do, what we have that can't be taken away from us, whether during election periods or after, is our voice. And so, regardless of what they do, regardless of when they are doing it, when we speak out and when we let them know that, okay, well, this is going to count and it's going to influence how we vote, they will definitely pay attention. I mean, and that's why I know even when they don't pay attention before, which is sad, when elections get close, they begin to pay attention. So we just have to use our voice. We just have to use.
It seems Dr. Ganiyat's network is not okay. Dr. Ganiyat, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. You can round up for us, please. It seems your network is a bit. Are you done, please? Are you done? Okay.
So, but when we talk about, when we observe things, we talk about it, we rally people, they are going to be careful, they are going to pay attention. So I think we should use this power and not, feel like we're helpless, because we are not.